I'm pointing at my watch too. Yep.
So we're just setting it up now to go out live to YouTube.
He's gonna mute us.
I think Joa might be with us, so I'm just going to help Joa get situated. Joa, are you on the call? Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, my whole family is.
Oh, okay.
Hey there, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Do you want to turn your camera on so you can be part of our family?
We're trying. Hold on.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and here comes Rabbi Silver.
Hey.
Hi, Gerstenfeld family.
Hi.
Shabbat shalom, guys.
Hi, Rebecca. Shabbat shalom.
Joa, do you feel up to doing anything tonight?
Not tonight.
Okay. We'll have you just listen tonight, and then next week we'll
Put you on the spot.
include you.
Okay.
Right, so this is actually a good practice round for what will then be next week of seeing exactly how things are going. So that should work great. And we're going to start. Let me just do this. Rabbi Silver, we just have to, well, actually, let me do this. I'm going to put everybody on mute, though I'm going to, as soon as doing that, obviously we're going to invite Rebecca to unmute. So first, let me just do that so that that'll help. And so, Rebecca, when you're unmuted, and there you are, and page 128 in our Siddur and Mishkan Tefillah, how good it is that we are all together. Hine ma tov.
Hine ma tov u'manahim sheverahim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manahim sheverahim gam yachad. Hine ma tov sheverahim gam yachad. Shevetachim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manahim. Shevetachim gam yachad, hine ma tov u'manahim. Shevetachim gam yachad.
Again, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We thank you for joining us to welcome Shabbat together. And as you've already heard, it's great that we're with Rebecca Rosen, who is our soloist, who co-officiates this evening in our worship. Rebecca's mom, Michelle, is going to lead us in candlelighting, Hadlakat Hanerot, kindling the lights of Shabbat, will be found. And I'm just looking out my window. The sun is just going down. It is on page 120.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu b'chadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lechad likner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Having just now formally welcomed Shabbat, we continue to celebrate Shabbat's arrival as part of the traditional Kabbalat welcoming of Shabbat. We sing Lachado D. It'll be found on page 142. And you know what? I think that there's it might actually not be on page 142. It might be on page 138. Sorry about that. Yep, that's right, with the Q. There's just a quick error on our cue sheet, but it's 138, Lachado D. We're going to be led by Rebecca in singing the first, the second, and the ninth verses of Lachado D.
Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el chamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'hitila. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lehu v'necha, ki hi mekor habracha, mehirosh mikedem nesufcha, sof maaseh b'mashava tehila. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Bohi v'shalom ateret bala, gam bin simcha uzola, tol emunei ham segula. Bohi chala, lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lechadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela.
We now turn to page 144 as Rebecca leads us in the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yikadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'amadi rakirutei v'yamlich malhutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'chayedechol be'Yisrael. Bagala u'vizman kariv, v'yimeru amin, yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'ama umay me'omaya, Yipara, v'ishtabach, v'yipar, v'yiramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadai, v'yitaleh, v'yitala, shemei dekudeshav revu Leila mikol berhata v'shirata tushbechata v'nemata damin ran b'yama v'meru amen.
We turn to page 146. For those who are able, we invite you to rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Leolam Vaed.
I read on page 149. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai.
Hamaravi Varavi.
And I read on page 151. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery.
Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Page 152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. We turn to page 154 as Rebecca leads us in the Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol elevecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'chayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibartam bam v'shivtecha v'veitecha u'letecha v'derech u'shokbucha u'b'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tiskeru va'asirtem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kadoshim leolehem. Ani Adonai Elohim asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lechem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohim.
Emet. We turn now to page 157. I read the reading on the top of the page. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Mi Chamocha will be found on page 158.
Ya bam bam bim bim bam ya da bam bam bim bam ya bam bam bim bim bam ya da bam bam bim bam ya da da ya da bam bam bim bam ya da da ya da bam bam bim bam. Mihi chamocha bailim Adonai. Mihi kamocha nedar bakodesh. Norati lo sefele. Norati lo sefele. Ya bam bam bim bim bam. Ya da bam bam bim bam. Ya bam bam bim bim bam. Ya da bam bam bim bam. Ya da ya da bam bam bim bam. Ya da bam bim bam. Malchutecha ra'uvanecha bokeh ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam zeli anu ve'ameru Adonai lo le'olam va'ed ya bam bam bim bim bam ya da bam bam bim bam ya bam bam bim bim bam ya da bam bam bim bam ya da bam bam bim bam ya da bam bam bim bam.
Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel, and blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. On page 162, Yismechu is the second Hebrew paragraph down on the page.
Yismehu v'malachutecha Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Yismehu v'malachutecha, Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shevi Shabbat. Kulam yisbehu ve'itanu mitu ve'hashabbat. Yismehu ve'malechutecha Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Yismehu ve'malechutecha Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Uvashvi Ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat. Kem dadianim oto karata Shabbat. Yismehu v'malechutecha Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Yismehu v'malechutecha Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Zecher lemasei v'reshit Shabbat. Zecher lemasei v'reshit Shabbat. Yismehu v'malechutecha Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat. Yismehu v'malechutecha Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, Oneg Shabbat.
And we now begin our tefillah. For those who are able, we invite you to rise. Our service continues in our Siddur, our prayer book, on page 164. We will be chanting the prayers in the prayer book on the right-hand pages, the even-numbered pages, beginning on page 164 and continuing to page 170.
Adonai, Sifatai Adonai tifta ufi agir tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekonei Hakol, V'Zoher Hashtei Avot Be'imaot, Umevi Gula Lifnei V'Nechem, Leman Shemro V'Ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Abraham, V'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atarav Le'Oshia, Mechakel Chayim V'Hesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachabim Rabim, Somev Noflim Berofeh Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Umatov, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umidom Elah, Melech Meimid Umechayeh, Umatzmi Yeshua, V'nemanata Lechayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei HaKol.
Kadosh, you are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. Today was the first day of the month of Elul, a penitential and reflective period that leads us to Rosh Hashanah. So we're just a month away, just less than a month away from Rosh Hashanah, a day of return and renewal. Our rabbi sermonized that during this period, during this time of Elul, during this month leading up to Rosh Hashanah, God and Israel feel the closeness of our bond one to the other. They teach that the month's very name, Elul, is considered a Hebrew acronym for the verse from the Song of Songs, such a well-known verse, Ani Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. In Hebrew, Elul. The psalmist tells us that the God of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Reflecting on the sacred, may this period awaken in us opportunities for renewal. May we feel the closeness of bonds that link us to one another as a people and to its ultimate source of holiness. In so doing, may this time help lead us and help lead all towards peace. Our prayer, Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon leho tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. V'tov b'neinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלום מלך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
And we pause for silent prayer.
Ose shalom bimromav uyase shalom aleinu le'akol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav uyase shalom aleinu ve'akol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Each Shabbat, we pray on behalf of dear ones within and beyond our congregational family who are ill and in need of healing. Tonight, we likewise include Simchaya Bas Malka, Ethel Bas Celia, Ethel Schwartz, Devorah Malka, Bat Esther Rivka, Penina Bat Esther, Jan Gregory, Marvin Worth, Janet Dias and her husband Jim, Kim Lee, Wendy Hoser, and Judy Rothstein. I invite you to unmute and say out loud the names of those for whom we likewise pray this Shabbat.
Selma Olchin,
Charlotte Berman,
Dolores Holmes.
Ron Saunders,
For all, may the Holy One send healing and shelter in protection. We sing Misha Berach.
Avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mikor habracha Lavoteu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Just beautiful. If you were to have a collection, if we were to make a collection of the Torah's best known, some of the most impactful verses in the Torah, it would definitely include 3 words, a statement, 3 words from this week's Torah portion, from this week's reading. 3 words. The Hebrew, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Actually, it's 2 words, one repeated twice. Translation, justice, tzedek, you shall pursue, tirdof. Tzedek, justice, like our word tzedakah. Quite obviously, in the verse which I just quoted, in those 3 words, there's a reiteration of that word tzedek, or justice. And that led to a lot of speculation by our sages for thousands of years as to why is this word repeated twice. You know the joke, 3 Jews, 4 opinions. There wasn't full agreement on why this is so, but various commentators and generations have found great meaning in the occurrence of that phrase, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. Quoting earlier sources, one of our greatest commentators, Rashi, he lived in the 11th century in France and Provence, and he wrote, tzedek, tzedek, tirdof means go search after a reliable court, end quote. In other words, justice requires a fair court system to administer justice, that in order to have justice, there has to be a fair court. Elsewhere, there's also the understanding that the repetition of the word justice means that the compromise, sometimes when you can't have full justice, that the compromise must also be just. And an example is given in the Talmud. It says that, say you have 2 boats traveling on a narrow river, or say you have 2 camels ascending up a narrow path, and the 2 boats can't make it through the same channel at the same time, or the 2 camels and their riders, they can't make it up at the same time. So they have to make an arrangement as to which one will go first. And they must make that arrangement justly. I ask that you think of this verse, justice, justice you shall pursue, the next time you're merging onto Interstate 84 and think someone isn't right in not letting you in. Still, there are more interpretations. One says tzedek means follow the rules appropriately, and the other tzedek means when you have to interpret the rules, as inevitably will be the case, when you have to interpret them, try your hardest to be fair. Tzedek, tzedek, tirdof. Other sages also believe the double word is used to teach us that justice, tzedek, must be pursued through just means, tzedek. That in order to do justice, you have to do it justly. Onkelos, the Jew by choice who translated the Torah into Aramaic, offers yet another understanding. He interpreted the phrase as a call for honesty and for integrity. Kushta, kushta. He said, truthfulness, truthfulness, you shall pursue. That is, integrity is required to ensure justice. For Maimonides, for our great philosopher and rabbi and physician in the Middle Ages, the repetition meant that we should be open to changing our opinions when, on deeper investigation, it is learned that the other opinion or the other side is correct. He writes, and I quote, "When other people see that the truth is leaning towards the one with which they have a conflict, one should lean towards the truth and not stiffen their neck." And this is the meaning of the verse, Tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice, justice you shall pursue. One final example. The sage Rabbi Eliezer believed the repetition of the word occurs in order to relate the realms of this world and the world to come one to the other. In a place where there is judging, there will be no further judging. In a place where there is not judging, there will be further judging, he says. Therefore, if justice is carried out on earth, no judging will take place in heaven. But if there's no justice below, then there'll be judging above. Rabbi Eliezer is arguing that what we do matters, that we are ultimately accountable for our actions, even when justice seems remote to us. Judaism is grounded in the importance of justice. Abraham, the first Jew, even holds God accountable to justice. He asks in the Torah, "Shall not the judge of all the earth do justly?" Of course, this is all easier said than done. For example, a new study by Yale political scientists reports that only a small fraction of US voters are willing to sacrifice their partisan and policy interests to defend democratic principles. When asked about punishing candidates for their undemocratic behavior, such as supporting gerrymandering, disenfranchisement, or press restrictions, only 3.5% would cast their ballots against their preferred candidates in a hypothetical state election. Yet the Torah's verse and interpretation challenge us to be reliably fair, open to compromise and learning, truthful and determined to pursue what's right. May we take its guidance with us, not only merging onto the highway, but through the various pathways we and our nation will traverse. Ken Yehi Ratzon, be this God's will. Our service will now continue as we begin our concluding prayers with the Aleinu. The Aleinu will be found in the prayer book on page 586. The Aleinu that we will be chanting is the second paragraph down on the page.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latekru lirotzer breshit, shelo asanu kiye haratzot, velo samanu kimishpachot hadama, shelo sam kelkinu kahem, begoralinu kechol hanoman, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Pardon me, I didn't realize that was muted. Page 591 for V'ne'emar.
V'ne'emar v'chaya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo
We now call to mind our own beloved dead, and I ask that those in mourning or remembering the anniversary of the death of a loved one, should you wish at home, please rise when their name is mentioned. And during Shiva, we remember Doris Abramson, wife of Joel. This Shabbat, remember the yard sites, the anniversaries of the deaths of Ava Greenblatt Alderman, Philip Aronson, Ida Krakow Benenson, Anna Weissman Blick, Herman Borensweig, Belle O. Brandwein, Corinne Cantor, Gertrude Fleischman, Samuel J. Frank, Mary Goldberg, Ann Jacobs Green, Evelyn Krakow, Jenny Liebeskin, Joseph Paley, Arnold A. Pollock, Edward F. Scheinbaum, Esther Sochin, Gertrude Spiro, Julia Wright, and Doris Zellen. Should you have a dear one to add, please unmute your computer and say their name.
Abraham Fallis. Arthur Dinas.
Eric Hall.
David Hoser and Louis Hoser.
Just thinking of author.
We also remember the dead this week from COVID-19. And each Shabbat, we also mention 6 names amongst the 6 million murdered in the Holocaust, the Shoah. We now remember Aharon Angelovitz, Mindel Angelovitz, Asher Lev Angelovitz, Aaron Angelowitz, Ephraim Agevelowitz, and Rivka Agevelowitz. In remembrance, in solidarity, and on behalf of those for whom there is no one but us to say Kaddish, we now invite all present to rise, if you are able. Our Kaddish prayer, page 598. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'yalma divrach churutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah min shemaya, b'chayim aleinu v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudashah b'richu leila kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam levracha, may their memories be for blessing, and let us say amen. Please be seated. On page 657, Rebecca leads Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, a song of peace.
Odivo shalom aleinu, odivo shalom aleinu, odivo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Odivo shalom aleinu, odivo shalom aleinu, odivo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Odivo shalom aleinu, odivo shalom aleinu, odivo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Odivo shalom aleinu, odivo shalom aleinu, odivo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam.